Hey, welcome back to Uncle Fezzi's Mad Lab. Now, what's Uncle Fezzi up to today? Now, one of the joys of living in a 100-year-old home is you have to constantly work on it, constantly maintain it. In my previous video, I discussed how I did low voltage lighting on my new balcony here. Well, one of the other things that I have to do, one of the other things I have to build around here is a railing. Now, I was originally going to build a railing from scratch and videotape the whole thing. Well, not for nothing, my wife didn't want to go over to Fazio's and pick out the material, and I didn't feel like going over to Fazio's and picking out the material and paying $1,000 for steel than to have to come home and cut and weld and paint and powder coat and all that other stuff to put a railing in. So I found a company online called Promenaid, and they sell modular railing systems, and they look really nice. I have one in my house. I'm going to show that in a minute when I walk in the house. I installed it really quick, and it came out really nice, and my wife really likes it. So she suggested buying another Promenaid railing, and I was all on board with it because, you know, quite frankly, even though I do have all the skills and all the equipment and all the tools and all the knowledge to build a railing, it's sure a hell of a lot easier if somebody else does it. So, you know, here we go. So the railing needs to go from here to there. I'm not putting a railing along the wall here, and I'm not putting a railing along this wall up here. We here at Fez Custom and or Stonecroft Manor Hotel, Casino and Resort believe in survival of the fittest. If you're stupid enough to step over this thing and fall onto that rock pile down there and crack your head open, I'll dig a hole for you. Same thing with over here. We just put stuff along here. I got one more little thing that I have to put here, and we're still trying to decide what I want to do with that. There's my privacy screens. They came out pretty nice. So let's go take a look at the railing in the house. Tiki on her perch. The little dog has to be at the highest point in the house at all times. So here's the Promenaid railing that I installed on my 100-plus-year-old staircase here. We jokingly call these the death stairs. Now, this is a 100-year-old home. And, you know, not for nothing, they don't build them like they used to, and they don't do that for a reason, because none of these, there was nowhere along this wall here where I could evenly space the brackets. So what I ended up doing was going to Home Depot, purchasing some way overpriced red oak, and mounting the red oak to the wall using wingets. They're used for mounting grab rails in bathrooms and stuff. They have a 300-pound weight load on each one. You know, my stairs creak just like my my stool. So the railing goes up the wall. It's mounted a little high, but I did that on purpose because my wife and myself are very tall people. So, and there's this terminus up here. Now, geometry got the better of me up here. And, yeah, geometry got the better of me up here. So, it was originally spec'd to mount to this anyway. It's a long story, but that's where it goes. This mounts into the stud here. This thing's not going anywhere. And you'll notice the top of the stair here, that I jokingly call this the death stair, because if you come out of the bathroom, there's a hole here. You know, back in 1920, when they built this house, actually pre-1920, this part of the house here where I'm standing, to my right here is the bathroom. That's an addition. This house didn't have indoor plumbing when it was originally built. So you can tell because of the step, and then there's a step here. Everywhere in this house is a step. There's stairs everywhere. House of stairs. And the handicap lady owns it. So I had them build this part out here so you have something to grab onto, and then when you're coming down the stairs, you're at a pretty decent rate, or a pretty decent angle here. So that's the railing in the house, and that's why I bought another one. So here we are, back again. So what's in the box? What's in the box? I was gonna build a railing. I was going to build a railing for the back stairs where I'm putting the lights, right? So the lighting project's coming along swimmingly. You know, this is, and this showed up yesterday. So we're going to take a minute to unpack this. So I ordered this from a company called Promenaid out of Canada. I installed one of these not long ago. It's interesting, they're from Quebec, French Canada. Everything comes in French, which is kind of funny. Aw, they have little stickers. Everybody has their little Easter bunny stickers. Alright, so, packing slip. Now I ordered one of these railing kits for the stairs in the house. I shot a video on it, and I did not complete that video because that was another project that went completely fucking sideways on me. And by the time I had moved along, oh, it's got staples in it too, bastards. By the time I got the railing up, I had to fight with it. And it wasn't because of the railing. I need to make that perfectly clear. So this Promenaid company makes these railing systems. I'm sure I could probably get them in the US, but they have the nicest website, I'm not gonna lie. The other thing is they offered a design service. Now you can send them sketches. You can send them sketches, literally just like shitty PDF or shitty sketches. I tried to be cheeky and do it on Fusion and send them the Fusion file, but for whatever reason they couldn't open the Fusion file, which is hilarious because they use Fusion to design it. Like, I know this because they offer, these products are designed on Fusion because they offer the files. You can buy the files that include these exact parts, but they want like thousands of dollars for it. Fuck you, I'm not doing that. So before this thing tips off and falls into the abyss here, oh, these are all glued together. This company really well packs their stuff really well. And this stuff's heavy. Wow. So these are the stanchions for ballisters. I'm just going to set these aside. The one thing they do pack this stuff really well, and they include assembly instructions, which is really nice too. These are they're really nice. It has a very professional look when it's finished, like something that you would see at a hospital or a hotel or someplace where you would normally have. My assumption is these are hardware kits. Something that you would see in a commercial environment. That's what these look like, and this is what my wife kind of wanted. So I agreed because I'm not for nothing. I really didn't feel like going over to Fazia. She didn't want to go to, well, the shorter answer, she didn't want to go to Fazia and pick the material. I absolutely could build this from scratch. I could have built the railing from scratch. And we've discussed building the railing from scratch now for years. And but I was in a rush to do the railing in the house. So I went online and I found this company. They were the only ones that I could find that provided this type of modular system. It's kind of like Lego railings. And the one that's in the house is really solid. I had no problem with the Promenaid part of the railing system. My problem with the railing in the house was the house. This is interesting. I'm going to have to read the directions. I was expecting 2 long pieces, but it looks to me like plate. This is so we had a couple different iterations that I had sent back and forth to them, and finally, I'm not going to lie, I got a little frustrated with them. So yeah, okay, so this is what they're doing here, I think. So I just said, okay, that's fine, that'll work. And I think I'm going to have to move a couple of the balusters. I'm going to have to move a couple of the balusters, or balusters, or whatever you want to call them. Otherwise, the railing physically might be too short. That was actually part of the problem with the other railing, and it wasn't their fault. It was my fault, because I don't want to say I mismeasured the railing. I didn't. But what I didn't take into account was the fittings, geometry, and the geometry involved with it. Yeah, so this is the main railing itself. And there's ends and things that go on this. What's in the box? The instructions, which every railing that they make, it automatically produces instructions for assembly for your particular railing, which is really nice. Let's see here. Oh, this is a splice kit. Hopefully it'll be in here. The one thing that they do that I'm not super crazy about, and I didn't do it in the house, but I think I'm going to do it outside, is they actually glue these together. So yeah, these are the bases for the balusters, which I wanted single pieces. Yeah, this looks fine. Oh, the other fucky thing is the screws they use are not standard Phillips screws because they're Canadian fucking metric system. They use non-standard Phillips screws, so you got to be careful with screwdriver you use. I'm really hoping. Look at that, a hardened. A hardened Allen wrench included with the kit. This is just a preliminary unboxing. I'm looking to see if they included the anchors and what the anchors look like. So yeah, they throw in JB Weld. They did include anchors, which I'm going to have to check my masonry drill bit kit. These anchors may not work. Those anchors may not work. I'm going to have to see if I have a drill bit large enough for those. Otherwise, I'm going to have to buy a drill bit. My new drill should work. It's going to take a while, but it should spin that thing. Yeah, these These are all the caps and fittings and rosettes, they call them, that hold everything together. It comes with all the angles. I'm not seeing the instructions I was really hoping to see. The instructions, yeah, there's no instructions. Shit. Alright, I'm going to have to look through it. Alright, so I take back what I said about the instructions. Actually, this is the instructions. So this is the type, Promenaid is the name of the company. I'm not getting paid by them, obviously, because this shit costs $1,000. So I'm going to have to... Alright, so I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to go through my drill bit collection here. I may just go buy a new fucking drill bit for this. I'm a little leery about these things. I'm a little leery about these. Oh, there they are. And they didn't include enough nuts. Oh, there's the nuts. They have all the information is available online. They have a pretty decent web presence. They have a pretty decent web presence, so we'll see. This is exactly what they told me not to fucking use on those things. I'm gonna have to get some adhesive, I think. We'll get some 2-part epoxy. I'll drill all the holes. I'll stick these in with epoxy. It looks like I only have to put them in a couple inches. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes out of my really not super busy day and see exactly what I need to do here. Welcome back to Uncle Fezzi's Mad Lab. Hey, look, I was just looking for that. I think I'm starting to get the stenods a little bit. So I've gone hot and cold on this particular video, and I figured, might as well just go. I might as well just do it. The other thing I should do is lubricate my chair here because it's starting to drive me a little bit crazy. Sounds like a bed in a college dorm room. My buddy's mom died. She was a heavy smoker, so I got all these new ashtrays. So, my Promenaid railing. So I already unboxed it, and I laid all the parts out here, and I actually started to put it together, and something came up with the railing, which kind of irritated me, but I called Promenaid, and they straightened it right out. Well, I hope they straightened it right out. So one of the things with Promenaid is you can send them a picture, a JPEG, or what have you, and then like just crudely draw a drawing on it, and they'll send you this really nice shop drawing with all the parts listed and all that jazz. And I'm missing a part. It's not their fault. Well, it is their fault. There's only one of them. I'm not a contractor. I'm not sitting around paying, 15 Mexicans $1,000 a day to stand around with a thumb up their ass while I'm waiting on a part from Canada. It is what it is. So the Promenaid railing is actually a pretty interesting setup, and that's part of why I ordered another one. As I can see right now, this isn't going to work. These are going to have to be trimmed, I think. I'm fairly sure they're going to have to be trimmed. Oh, actually, no, it's not going to have to be trimmed. So you can see from the design here, I don't know if it'll show up. I might move the camera or include a picture of it. So there's this here. This piece that I'm putting together is great to show on the bench here how this whole system works without having to show 10 feet of railing. Now, there's two things that are going on here. Me being me, of course, I changed the design halfway through. This isn't their fault, this is my fault. One thing that is their fault, and I did mention it when I called up looking for the part which I swore, I went through everything, I eventually I went and looked at the packing slip, and part that I need is not on the packing slip. So the way this works is actually pretty ingenious. They're called sprocket locks. So there's these little teeth in here, right? And they clips into, and then they have these little Oreos. Oh, I need that. I lost one of these when I built the last one. And I didn't have a 3D printer to make more. Now I have a 3D printer. So I could throw all those away if I want to and spend hours printing new ones. So the way this works is really fascinating. It's a little frustrating at first, but it's not too bad once you figure it out. And it's geometry, kids. Remember how I mentioned earlier about don't smoke weed in the bathroom when you should be studying geometry? Well, this is for the kids that smoked weed in the bathroom when they were should have been studying geometry. So there's 3 different bends that come with these things. Actually, there might be 4. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. And they have all kinds of different doodads that go with it. But the basic way this thing goes together, I'm gonna cover this first since I'm in a video dump. You know, I'm dumping videos. Let's take this piece apart. This is a great example here. Because every little bit of this part, actually no. Yeah, the whole thing is here. So the way this is supposed to work is there's a tube that goes in here. Oh, I gotta get off my fat ass. So this is the down tube and the baluster. And it's already, and this is gonna fit in here like this, right? And it fits relatively nicely. It doesn't fit perfect, but it fits really good. Otherwise, I'd have to cut a fish mouth in that, right? Fish mouth. We all know what that looked like. So, I'm going to move the camera in a little bit. We're going to move the camera in. So I've already built one of these railings, and this is actually just a section of the railing. So here's the railing here, or the shop drawing. Excuse the light. That's the LED lighting in the shop here is very similar to, maybe I'll put it in post. So this is a collar. So they have collars and bends. They have 32-degree bends. They have 5-degree bends and 0-degree bends. And I don't know if they have 45s. I think they make 35s by taking 2, or 45s by doing 2 32s, or a 32 and a 5. I forget exactly how it works out. So they have all these different collars that are different bends, right? You can see it real good here. So this is how it does it. This is the only thing I don't like about this. The only thing I don't like about it is these are exposed. The upstairs railing, I was able to hide them at the bottom, but on this particular railing, because it's going to be a vertical railing, but it comes with these little plugs that you put in, right? And the joints aren't too bad. And to keep in mind here that this is like a really expensive erector set for a homeowner to put a decent looking, professional looking railing up in their house. And I screwed those 2 together. Son of a bitch. All right. So this is a representation of what the railing is. They feel nice. They have a nice feel to them, even where there's a joint, which it comes with a splice kit. They can only mail 7 foot. It's just short of it. They can only mail 8 feet through Federal Express. Anything longer, it has to come through freight. So, and they use Federal Express, and they give you a splice kit, which isn't bad. I've used the splice kit in the house, and it works just fine. My wife hangs off of this thing like a chimpanzee, and she's a stout woman, and I hung off of it like I hung off of it like an ape. and yanked on it and pulled on it and tried everything I could to bend it and get it off the wall, and it didn't come off the wall. So there's that. So these connectors here slide into this extrusion. Yeah, we'll take this one out. Alright, so this is a piece of extruded aluminium, depending on what part of the pond you're on, right? And then these go in here, and this is what connects the, so this is what, this slides in there like that. And then, I'm not zipping these down super duper tight. One, because they're aluminum, and the other is you can adjust these, which is really nice if you're an adult like me. So this particular section I've just laid out on the bench here, and I'm putting together just to kind of give me something to do in between editing videos, right? So, and then it comes with this little row, this comes with this terminus here, and that goes in there like that. And then this goes on there like that. And this tightens up. Let's see if this one will work. I had trouble with it at first, but that's because I'm an idiot and I put it together wrong the first time. These are actually directional. My only complaint about this entire thing, my only complaint about this is, and I actually complained to a guy named Richard at Promenaid when I called to tell him that I didn't get all the parts I needed, that none of these are marked, right? So there's no indicator on what these are, right? So now you take them all out and you lay them on the table and you're okay. But if you're on site somewhere, you might not have a table, right? So you might not have a table, and you might not have patience, and you might not, you know, be borderline autistic like me, and you might not have the wherewithal to lay all these out and have all of your 14s together and your 5s together and your 32s together. You know, some of these are self-explanatory, right? So this is what goes up inside of the railing that holds the baluster, okay? But these can get a little confusing, especially the shallow angle ones. You know, and like I said, I almost got a protractor out to check them because I wasn't sure. But what I ended up doing was laying them all out on the table and then comparing them to the packing list, so I knew had kind of an idea of what I had. Now, they send you these little Oreos, right? And these things are pretty cool because these Oreos, I call them, they have a name, go here. So these go here and connect this to this. So these are joints. So this is a bend, that's a bend, this is a bend. This is a terminus. They call it a sprocket lock. And then this is, I think they call this isn't a rosette. This is a collar, sprocket lock collar. I always end up with a couple extras of those, which is fine. I wish I had a use for them other than chucking them at somebody. So, and then this screws in like this. Now, if you don't put these super tight, if you just leave them a little loose, you can bend them, okay? And this is fantastic, because if you need to tweak it a little bit, you can do that. I don't have to do any tweaking right now. I can just build this and get these all lined up, and these should all line up perfectly, because this wants to be 90 degrees to the railing. But if it's not, right, if your railing's a little funky when you put it in, you can adjust all these. I'm actually going to tighten these up just a little because they do flop a tad. Not a lot, just a little, just enough to be annoying, right? But I want these all straight for the time being. And then you can adjust them, which is the most fantastic thing about this. And it's why I bought the Promenaid railing, is so you can adjust all this stuff as need be. So, not for nothing, that's the end of this part of the video because I don't have the rest of the railing parts. I can't install the railing without that part. Well, there you go. Part one of my promenade railing. Promenade. And I got a new hat because my ears are cold. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with all those neck gaiters I ordered when they told you that COVID was going to kill you, so you put a dirty rag on your face to protect your neighbors. Well, that's what this is. You know, this is going to protect me from the most deadly virus in the world. What it does is makes a nice little hat, because I'm going bald now. Well, I shaved my head, so I'm bald. And it's just cold enough here to need a hat, but not a crazy hat. So now I just have this thing. I'm living with it. All right, there we go.